Let's bring in our experts. I'm joined by former RNC chair and MSNBC political analyst Michael Steele, who endorsed Joe Biden, and New York Times columnist and MSNBC contributor Michelle Goldberg. Michael, when Gaga's right, she's right. And we may be going from MAGA to Gaga, if you will. But tell us about this bad romance.
Yeah, it is a bad romance. It's an abusive relationship that is very, very one-sided. And it's unfortunate that those in the room, if you will, watching the abuse unfold could not step in and stop it as they could have over the last 4 years, starting with Lindsey Graham, who now is like, oh, I've concluded that we can't win without Trump. Well, you haven't won. You lost the House, you lost the Senate, and you lost the presidency. Tell me, what the hell have you won? And how do you plan to win in the future if that's, as you just pointed out, you've lost 7 out of the last 8 elections nationally? So, where do you go from here? You're just going to continue to get pounded by Trump inside the room. Folks outside the room are like, well, we'll just leave that alone. We'll just move on to something else. And that's not what a party, at least a governing party, should be about. Whether it's, Stefanik or anyone else who thinks they're going to go out and sell America on Trump and Trumpism after having so many Americans resoundingly reject it, I don't get what it is they're seeing. I don't see what they're seeing. And a lot of folks are scratching their heads. So the play must then be, how much grift can we get out of this? Because everybody's raising, that's what this U.S. tour of Dumb and Dumber is all about, going out and grifting more cash to put in their coffers. Where's the policy? Where's the principle? You're going to go out and harangue against socialism coming to America when we're living with fascism and the Republican Party. It's this juxtaposition for me, Ari, is just very clear as day. And a lot of people, I think, are now beginning to make the moves that are going to be necessary to move forward. It's a common sense coalition of Republicans that are about to bust a move. That's good. There are independent voters out there that have made it very clear where they stand. So I think that for the future of this iteration of the party, it's not as bright as they're purporting it to be. And the only thing they'll be able to take away is maybe some cash, but not a lot of votes.
And Michael, in all fairness to Dumb and Dumber, on their road trip, they did have a better car. They had the car that looked like a large dog.
Yeah, a better car. Yeah, that'll get you where it needs to get you. But the reality of it is, who's paying attention to this? What is the purpose of it? What policy prescriptions are you going to be offering the country besides pointing your finger at the opposition and saying, oh, that's bad? Okay, fine. What's your solution? So, right. I think there's a lot more to this than they think it is in terms of where voters are. And they'll see it play out over the next year.
And Michelle, this is more than just political squabbling in Washington, although it includes that. This is something that Liz Cheney did beat back once, which means she got a majority of her caucus on record in those meetings they hold. It's a vote, but it means the majority of them said, yep, she can be here. And here they are months later, and they're back over the same debate. Nothing has changed. It's just, I guess it's even worse now than it was then to acknowledge the loss, Michelle.
Well, I think it's a couple of things. When we talk about what it means for the Republican Party to win, I mean, I've said this a million times in your show, it doesn't mean winning the most votes. It just means winning power. And there are ways to do that besides winning the most votes. And so I think this points to a strategy of continuing voter suppression, continuing attacks on elections. You look at figures all over the country that behaved with integrity in the 2020 election are now getting purged from their party. So, look, it's very likely that Republicans will be able to redistrict their way to a victory in the House in 2022. Can we really see a Republican House majority acceding to a Democratic presidential victory in 2024? It's very hard for me to imagine. The other problem they have is that they sort of can't win with Trump, but they also can't win without him, right? Trumpists are not a majority, but anti-Trumpists are also not a majority. The only time that they're able to win is when they're able to kind of knit those two groups together, which is a very delicate balancing act. So Trump can't lead the party to victory, but he can definitely lead it to, he can definitely kind of bring it down in flames, right? We saw what he was able to do in the Georgia Senate special election when he told his people, that it doesn't matter if you turn out. They didn't turn out. And so the Republican Party, in a sense, I think Lindsey Graham is actually right in a sense that the Republican Party is currently constituted, does in fact need to stay in Donald Trump's good graces.
Yeah, and this is something that, for viewers who caught the very top of the program, Nicole and I were touching on. There was an older belief among some, oh, well, this is a Trump thing because he actually does have the expansive powers of the White House, and when that's over, it'll end. That framework is over, completely discredited by this behavior. Joe Biden was one of the people who was hoping for that, and now he himself has acknowledged it's not going that way. Michael, take a look. We put together both of those points of view as he's adjusted with the facts. Take a look.
With Donald Trump out of the White House, not a joke, you will see an epiphany occur among many of my Republican friends.
I think the Republicans are further away from trying to figure out who they are and what they stand for than I thought they would be at this point.
Michael?
Yeah, I think the president's pretty right on that. I mean, look, Joe Biden's got pretty good at political instincts about these things. You need those to survive in this town, though, for as long in the way that he has. So he understands what the opposition looks like, and it's important when you are in the majority to understand what the opposition looks like and how the opposition not only positions itself, but then how it begins to move within that position. And when a lot in the past, Ari, that's been anchored to policy. It's been anchored to philosophy, ideology. It's been anchored to value sets that you've shared over time and that you refine and you set up to make the case against your opponent, right? And so Joe Biden sort of anticipating that and saying that's why he says, well, they haven't gotten to where I thought they would be. They've gotten nowhere near where I thought they would be in doing those types of assessments. Instead, you heard it from the party leadership. We can't do anything without Donald Trump. We don't exist without Donald Trump. In fact, we are nothing without Donald Trump. And if that's your go-to, if you're Joe Biden, you're like, okay, well, we'll just talk to Republican voters. We'll talk to the men and women sitting around kitchen tables trying to figure out how to open their businesses up, how to when and where to get their vaccine, put their kids back to school, do infrastructure, et cetera. And that's why the polling is reflecting, and it tells you Republicans are with him because you don't get to 69% on COVID and 60% on infrastructure without Republican voters. They like that. And that's leadership. And that's what they're looking for.
And so, Michelle, when you take that all together, you say, okay, there's 16 months left. You just spoke about why even without a necessary majority coalition, Republicans could take back the House. McConnell saying 100% obstruction. House GOP spending valuable time ousting the one person who managed to reference the truth that Trump lost. Why shouldn't the Democrats, starting with Chuck Schumer in the Senate, seize on these 18 months, do whatever structural changes they need, including limiting or ending the filibuster, given everything that's on the table right now?
I mean, it's urgent that they do that. And it's urgent not just to make Joe Biden's presidency a success and to rescue a country that still has, big economic problems and kind of big social crises, but it's urgent to preserve our democracy because we have one Democratic Party in this country and we have one anti-democratic party in this country. And the anti-democratic party in this country has structural advantages. It's going to use whatever power it can accumulate to entrench those advantages. Democrats have sort of one chance right now to level the playing field a little bit. But in order to do that, they need to get buy-in from people like Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. And so voters need to convince them that the future of this country, that the future of this democracy really is at stake. If they just need to listen to the Republican Party's own words, if there's any doubt.
All fair points. Kicking us off here on Friday night. Michelle and Michael, thank you.